Well, welcome back. It's the Grumpy Gunsmith again, and this time I'm going to show you how to do a lower buttstock molding on the left and the right side. Sort of adds a little delicate touch to the gun and doesn't take very long at all. So let me set up the camera and I'll show you how that's done. To start off doing this molding, I've drawn a line here. I just used my finger and a guide on here, about a ½ inch at the back end, and it tapers down, and generally most of these tend to blend out right where the rear of the trigger guard is, sort of flows into that line. And the first thing I want to do now is go ahead and cut that line in, and I'm using a checkering tool from Demi-Bart, and this is a very coarse single line. You can also just simply with your chisel stab along the edge here, just so long as you got that line cut. Another option is I've taken a 3-corner file, ground the end nice and flat, and you can use that to guide right along that line as well. I prefer the Demi-Bart because I can see exactly where I'm going. And you start at the back end and work your way forward since the grain runs towards the wrist. I go over the line a couple times just to get a nice even depth all the way. Alright, that's pretty good. Now on the back end here, I'm going to go ahead and cut the step in the butt plate. And all I do is simply file that. And I'll start a little bit high up, not right on the line, because if I've got a safe edge file, but still it might want to drift down a little bit, and I'll have to worry about getting all that to blend in. So I'll start a little bit high. And then I can turn it and bring it on down. Alright, now I'll start using got a ½ inch wide chisel, and I'll just go ahead and start cutting along that line, removing some depth there, and got a fairly sharp angle to it, so I just want to cut down to the depth first. Make sure you keep your blade lined up parallel with the line you've cut. If you start to go this way a little bit with it, you're going to end up cutting off, and you'll end up having to redo the whole line and step. Now you can continue doing this and all the way down, and then sort of blend it over, roll that edge over a little bit so it blends into this top. You can also use rifflers. I've got a fairly coarse riffler here. One end is rounded, one end square, and this kind of helps. I've taken the edge off one side so that it's a safe edge. And I like using this because it helps get it a little bit flatter. Cutting it with a chisel is fine, but it takes a little more time to make sure you get this area you're taking down nice and smooth and even. I'm just going to work this back end just to give you an idea how it goes. Then I've got some little bit finer rifflers. I can get in there and smooth that even more. Once you get it down to the depth you want, which doesn't have to be too much, this is, if you get it down 1/16 of an inch, you've probably gone too much. It should be just a little bit less than that. Now you can get in there with some folded sandpaper, 220 grit to start with, 320, and smooth all that out nice and even. Continue on up the way you want. And when you want to do this to the other side, they should be equal. So what you do, instead of fussing with trying to draw the lines again, is simply tape a piece of paper on the side. You can fold it over, or just tape it to the edge. And after you've got that first line done, this is just poster board I'm using. And you can go along with a pencil or your thumb or whatever you've got and just sort of mark that line on the cardboard. Mark the bend there. And once you do that all the way up, you can take your scissors, cut this pattern, and then use it on the other side, and that'll give you the same flow, the same taper on the other side. Not terribly a difficult job, but it adds a lot to the gun. Most of the old guns that you'll see from the Golden Age period have this step. And you can use the same process on the ramrod channel too. Doing that, just draw you a pencil line. Of course, they're straight from end to end, and cut them the same way. Make yourself a paper pattern, flip it over to the other side, and draw that on, and you've got it made. Alright, so now I've got this side completely done. A little more sanding to do on it, but to transfer this to the other side, you could do various things, but what I find works real good is I've got a piece of that thin poster board and a piece of tape, and I'll just lay this so that the edge of the poster board is going to be at the edge of the toe. Start up here at the top and you sort of line it up, tape it down, go to the other end, line it up, and make sure that poster board underneath is right on that edge, and then you can go along and mark this. I'm just using my thumbnail, but you can also take a pencil and the edge of that tape is right where that bend is, right where the step. And before you peel it up, you can kind of check and make sure that everything you've got is the way you want it to be. And make sure you mark the end. I mark right at the edge of the butt plate itself, on the outside edge. Alright, and then you can take this off. And cut along those lines. Let me get my scissors. Like that. Now, since we want to flip this over, we actually have to have sticky tape on the other side. And let me flip this gun stock over and I'll kind of show you what we're going to do. Now, since this is painter's tape, it'll peel off fairly easily. And I'll take some bits of tape, lining this up right where I want it to be. And you don't have to do the whole length again. It can be done in sections. and then hold that down so it's nice and tight against the edge, and just start drawing that line at the top of the cardboard. And there you've got the line transferred to the other side to follow. And I'm just going to guide this, make it a little bit darker. And once you got that line there, you can go ahead and cut it just like you did the other side. Okay, the right side is now finished, matches the left. And I want to show you that if you get on the back end here, you can see it's not very deep. But the other thing you might want to notice is that it's a nice gentle curve coming up the side here. You don't want a sharp bend right here. You want it to just flow together nicely. It's sort of like this step here is just growing out instead of you taking the wood down. Alright, so that's how you make the lower buttstock molding on the left and the right, and how to make them even fairly easily. You can use the same technique to do the fore-end molding, and I'll try and do some videos on that soon. On making them is not that hard. It's doing a fancy tendril or something on the back end to blend them into the rest of the gun. So I'll try and do that in the next few days here. So, y'all take care, and until the next time, be safe.